It's Sleepy Steve helping you to fall asleep and study. Remember to subscribe to help Steve-O out, and I will keep making more sleepy stories. Tonight, we are moving into Unit 3 Physical Education, and the focus becomes a little more direct, a little more exam-focused, and a little more connected to performance. But we are still going to take it slowly. We are going to let the body settle, and then we are going to let the ideas settle as well. This episode is about skill acquisition and movement skills. That means we are thinking about how people learn to move, how skills can be classified, how practice can be designed, and how a performer can gradually shift from awkward first attempts to more controlled, confident, and efficient movement. You might picture a quiet sports hall at the end of the day. The lights are soft, the floor is polished, a basketball rests near the free throw line, a netball hoop stands at one end, a tennis racket leans against a bench, a pair of running shoes sits beside a drink bottle. Nothing is rushed. No one is shouting. There is just the memory of movement in the room, and the calm idea that every skill, from a simple pass to a complex routine, can be learned, refined, and improved. So let's begin with a simple idea. A movement skill is an action or a series of actions that has a goal. In physical education, we are not only interested in movement happening, we are interested in purposeful movement. A person may run to reach a ball, jump to take a mark, pass to a teammate, serve in tennis, shoot in basketball, turn in dance, swim a lap, or balance during gymnastics. Each of these movements has a purpose. Each one can be observed. Each one can be practiced. Each one can improve. Skill acquisition is the process of learning and improving these movement skills. It is not magic. It is not simply talent. Talent may help, but skill develops through practice, feedback, decision-making, body awareness, concentration, confidence, and time. In Unit 3, Area of Study 1, we are interested in the way movement skills are acquired and in the ways coaches, teachers, and performers can use knowledge of skill acquisition to improve performance. A key exam idea is that skill learning depends on the performer, the task, and the environment. The performer includes things like age, fitness, confidence, motivation, prior experience, body size, strength, flexibility, coordination, and anxiety level. The task includes the movement skill itself, including how complex it is, how many decisions are involved, how fast it happens, and whether the movement has a clear beginning and end. The environment includes the setting in which the skill is performed, such as a quiet gym, a windy oval, a noisy stadium, a wet tennis court, or a changing game situation. Good PE answers often connect these parts together. They do not just define a term, they explain how the term affects performance. So, if a beginner basketball player is learning a layup, you might say that their prior experience, their confidence, the complexity of the footwork, and the presence of a defender can all affect how successfully they learn and perform the skill. Now let's classify skills. Skill classification is useful because different types of skills may need different types of practice and feedback. The first classification is open and closed skills. A closed skill is performed in a stable and predictable environment. The performer can usually control the timing of the movement. Examples include a golf putt, a gymnastics routine, a free throw in basketball, a tennis serve without wind, or a swimming start. The environment does not change very much while the performer is completing the skill. Because of this, closed skills often benefit from repetition, consistency, and controlled practice conditions. An open skill is performed in an unpredictable and changing environment. The performer must respond to other players, opponents, weather, speed, space, and game situations. Examples include passing in netball during a match, kicking in football under pressure, returning a tennis shot, defending in basketball, or changing direction in soccer. Open skills require perception, decision-making, and adaptation. The performer must read cues, choose an action, and execute the movement. For exam purposes, do not just say that an open skill is unpredictable. Add the movement consequence. For example, a netball pass in a game is an open skill because the position of teammates and defenders changes, so the performer must adjust the timing, direction, and force of the pass. That extra link makes the answer stronger. The next classification is discrete, serial, and continuous skills. A discrete skill has a clear beginning and a clear end. A kick, a throw, a golf swing, a tennis serve, a jump shot, and a volleyball serve are all discrete skills. They happen as a single action. A serial skill is a sequence of discrete skills joined together. A gymnastics routine, a triple jump, a dance sequence, a volleyball spike approach, or a layup in basketball can be considered serial skills. There are several parts, and the timing between the parts matters. A continuous skill has no clear beginning or end. It is repeated over time. Running, cycling, swimming, rowing, and cross-country skiing are examples. For continuous skills, rhythm, pacing, efficiency, and endurance become important. Again, in an exam, the best answer will connect the classification to the way the skill should be practiced. A discrete skill may be practiced in repetitions with feedback between attempts. A serial skill may be broken into parts and then linked together. A continuous skill may require rhythm, timing, and endurance under repeated conditions. Another way to classify skills is according to complexity. A simple skill has fewer parts, fewer decisions, and lower information processing demands. A complex skill has many parts, precise timing, decision-making, and often high coordination demands. A chest pass in a quiet drill may be relatively simple. A fast break in basketball where a player must dribble, scan, avoid a defender, time a pass, and choose the best option is more complex. The movement may not be only physically complex. It can also be cognitively complex because the performer has to process information quickly. This matters because beginners often learn better when complex skills are simplified. A coach might reduce pressure, slow the task, remove defenders, practice one part at a time, or provide clear cues. As the performer improves, practice can become more game-like. Now let's think about the stages of learning. A common way to describe skill learning is through 3 stages: the cognitive stage, the associative stage, and the autonomous stage. The cognitive stage is the first stage. The performer is trying to understand what to do. They may make many errors. Their movements may be inconsistent. They may need simple instructions, demonstrations, and frequent feedback. Their attention is often focused on the basic movement pattern. A beginner tennis player learning to serve might think about grip, stance, ball toss, racket path, and contact point, all at the same time. That is a lot of information. So the movement may feel awkward. The performer may overthink. They may pause between attempts. They may need encouragement. In the cognitive stage, practice should often be clear, simple, and structured. Instructions should not be overloaded. Feedback should focus on the most important errors first. A coach might say, "Keep your eyes on the ball," or "Step towards the target," rather than listing 10 corrections at once. The associative stage is the second stage. The performer has a better idea of the skill. Errors still occur, but they become less frequent and less severe. Movement becomes more consistent. The performer can begin to detect some of their own errors. They can refine timing, force, rhythm, and coordination. A basketball player in the associative stage may understand the shooting action, but may still need to improve consistency under fatigue or pressure. They may benefit from varied practice, more specific feedback, and gradually more realistic conditions. The autonomous stage is the third stage. The skill becomes automatic. The performer can execute the movement with little conscious thought. This frees up attention for tactics, opponents, game strategy, and decision-making. An elite netball player does not need to consciously think about every part of a chest pass. They can read the defender, time the lead, adjust the pass, and recover into position. In the autonomous stage, practice can be highly specific, competitive, and game-like. Feedback may focus on small refinements. Performers may use video analysis, performance data, and advanced coaching cues. It is important to remember that stages of learning are not perfectly separate boxes. A performer may be autonomous in one skill but cognitive in another. A strong footballer may be autonomous when kicking on their preferred foot, but closer to associative or cognitive when kicking on their non-preferred foot. Skill level depends on the task, not just the athlete. Now let's move into practice conditions. Practice is not simply doing something over and over. Practice should be designed to suit the learner, the skill, and the performance environment. One type is massed practice. Massed practice involves longer practice periods with little rest. It may be useful for simple skills, highly motivated performers, or activities where fatigue itself is part of performance. However, massed practice can lead to fatigue, reduced concentration, and poor technique. For beginners or complex skills, too much massed practice may reinforce errors. Distributed practice includes more frequent rest periods. It is often useful for beginners, complex skills, physically demanding skills, or when quality of movement is important. The rest allows the performer to recover, process feedback, and attempt the movement again with better focus. For example, a beginner learning a tennis serve may benefit from distributed practice because the skill is complex and repeated serves can cause fatigue and frustration. Another distinction is blocked and random practice. Blocked practice means practicing the same skill repeatedly before moving on to another skill. For example, a basketball player might take 20 free throws from the same spot. Blocked practice can be useful for beginners because it builds confidence and allows repetition of the basic movement pattern. It is predictable and controlled. Random practice means practicing different skills or variations in an unpredictable order. For example, a basketball player might alternate between a layup, a jump shot, a pass, a defensive slide, and another shot, depending on a cue. Random practice is more game-like and improves decision-making, but it may be more challenging. It is often better for performers in the associative or autonomous stage. There is also part practice and whole practice. Part practice breaks a skill into smaller components. It can be useful for complex or dangerous skills, or for beginners who need to master one section before joining the whole movement. A triple jump can be practiced as hop, step, and jump phases before being linked together. A gymnastics routine can be broken down into separate movements. Whole practice involves practicing the entire skill as one complete action. It is useful for simple skills, continuous skills, or skills where timing and rhythm between parts are important. A sprint start might be practiced as a whole movement when the performer needs to feel the coordination of the start, drive phase, and acceleration. In PE, the best answer often says which practice method is most suitable and why. Do not just define part practice. Say that part practice would be useful for a beginner learning a complex gymnastics routine because it reduces information overload and allows the performer to focus on one component before linking the sequence. Now let's talk about feedback. Feedback is information about performance or outcome. It helps the performer understand what happened and how to improve. Intrinsic feedback comes from within the performer. It includes sensory information such as feeling balance, muscle tension, timing, rhythm, body position, and movement comfort. A runner may feel that their stride is smooth. A gymnast may feel that they are off balance. A basketball shooter may feel that the ball left their hand too flat. Extrinsic feedback comes from outside the performer. It may come from a coach, teacher, teammate, video analysis, stopwatch, score, heart rate monitor, or GPS device. Extrinsic feedback is especially useful for beginners because they may not yet know what the correct movement should feel like. Feedback can also be knowledge of results or knowledge of performance. Knowledge of results tells the performer about the outcome. The ball went in. The time was 12.4 seconds. The serve landed out. The pass reached the teammate. Knowledge of performance tells the performer about the quality of the movement. Your elbow dropped. Your stride shortened. Your follow-through was too low. Your body position was too upright. For skill acquisition, knowledge of performance is often more useful when the performer needs to improve technique, while knowledge of results is useful when the outcome is the main focus. Feedback can be positive, corrective, immediate, or delayed. Positive feedback reinforces what was done well. Corrective feedback identifies what needs to change. Immediate feedback is given straight after the performance. Delayed feedback is given after some time has passed. Beginners may need more immediate and simple feedback. Advanced performers may benefit from delayed feedback because it gives them time to use intrinsic feedback and reflect on their own performance. This matters in PE because feedback should match the stage of learning. A cognitive learner often needs simple, external, frequent feedback. An autonomous learner may need more precise, less frequent, and more detailed feedback. Now let's pause and link the whole episode together. Movement skills can be classified in different ways: open or closed, discrete, serial or continuous, simple or complex. These classifications help decide how the skill should be taught and practiced. A beginner learning a closed, discrete skill may benefit from blocked practice, clear demonstrations, and frequent feedback. A more advanced performer refining an open skill may benefit from random practice, game-like pressure, decision-making cues, and more specific feedback. The learner's stage also matters. Cognitive learners need clarity. Associative learners need refinement. Autonomous learners need performance pressure and small adjustments. A strong exam response might sound like this. Because the tennis serve is a closed, discrete, and relatively complex skill, a beginner in the cognitive stage would benefit from part practice, distributed practice, and simple knowledge of performance from a coach, so they can focus on the ball toss, contact point, and follow-through without becoming overloaded or fatigued. That sentence does several things. It classifies the skill. It identifies the stage of learning. It chooses practice and feedback. It explains why those choices suit the learner. That is the style of thinking Unit 3 PE often rewards. So, as you rest now, let the ideas become simple. A skill is purposeful movement. Skill acquisition is learning and improving that movement. Closed skills are predictable. Open skills are changing. Discrete skills have a clear beginning and end. Serial skills join parts together. Continuous skills repeat without a clear end point. Cognitive learners are beginning. Associative learners are refining. Autonomous learners are automatic and adaptable. Practice should suit the skill and the performer. Feedback should guide improvement. And movement, like sleep, becomes smoother when the body is calm, the mind is settled, and each small piece has time to find its place. This has been Sleepy Steve. Sleep well and let the movement skills settle quietly in your mind.